Boundaries is such a simple word, but it's one of those words that brings up a whole lot of issues in our life, in our world, in our relationships, in just about everything that we do. So today we are diving into boundaries and taking a close look at what's the boundary pusher up to and who is a boundary eraser. Welcome to the Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with me, Teresa Schloop, a fellow solo small business owner making her dreams come true while operating as a team of one. Here we talk about building a life and business that feels just perfect for us, because success isn't about checking boxes or racking up accomplishments. It's about truly living the life of your dreams on your own terms. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Solo Grind. And if you've been with me here before, welcome back. I am so glad that you are here. And honestly, I love connecting with you in this way each and every week, or every chance that you have an opportunity to tune in. So for those of you who are new around here, let me take just a moment to introduce myself. I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, and I am a brand strategist and web designer, along with a WordPress extraordinaire who loves her job. I work with small solo-owned businesses typically, although the right project will always get my ear. And I love supporting people who are just doing their part to make their corner of the world a better place. So if you are looking for the branding essentials such as a logo suite and color palettes, or if you're looking at getting a whole new website, or maybe you just need a little help with your WordPress site, give me a call. You can find my contact information on my website at caffeinecreative.io. Call me, email me, book a free 20-minute chat. Whatever feels right to you, I would love to connect. And now I want to talk about boundaries. That is our topic for today, because boundaries is a really big thing for me in my world. And I remember once upon a time when I was terrible at my boundaries. We're talking the world's worst person at respecting her own boundaries. I tried to do everything for everyone and be everything for everyone. And honestly, it led to some serious burnout and a whole heaping dose of resentment. And that is just not a healthy way to live, my friends. Having learned that lesson the hard way, I have honestly gotten pretty good at my boundaries. And it is one of the topics that I think I talk about the most when it comes to working with my clients. So one of the things that I do as a web designer for my clients who have a brand new website that it's under a year old, or the ones who are on my maintenance plan, is they get 90 minutes with me each and every month. And that 90 minutes could be design time. It could be strategy time. It could be design and strategy. However my clients want to use it, that is what they get to do. But they get me, my undivided attention, and screen to screen Zoom call where we can talk about whatever we need to talk about. And one of the issues that comes up most often is related to boundaries. Now, this can take on the guise of so many different things, potential client issues, family issues, whatever the case is. There's a lot of disguises for boundary pushing, and I see it happen a lot. And I'll be honest with you, most of the time, most of our worries, woes, and stresses could be taken care of by creating and respecting clear boundaries. And that respect is not just a one-sided thing. A lot of times it's easy to be like, well, they don't respect my boundaries and they need to get better at it. But it starts with us. We have to respect our own boundaries, and we have to communicate them clearly, and we have to insist others respect our boundaries. As much as we want everyone, them as in the people in our world, as much as we want them to just know our boundaries inside and out and respect them 100% of the times, it's not going to happen. It is up to us to put those boundaries out there. Now, sometimes people are pushing our boundaries because they are a pusher and they know that they can get away with it, which then often leads us to erasing those boundaries and letting them get away with it. But other times it's unintentional and they don't know they're pushing those boundaries until we point out that they're pushing our boundaries. So today I thought, why not we get a little bit of clarity on what a boundary pusher is, what a boundary eraser is. And I want to do it by kind of doing like a game show type thing. I'm going to give you a scenario and you get to guess if it's a boundary pusher or a boundary eraser. That is the star of the show. And for each one you guess correctly, you get 100 points or 1,000 points. The points really don't matter. This is just for fun. And I have no doubt that you're going to know exactly which person is the star of the show in each scenario that I'm going to share. And along with that, I'm also going to share some ideas that I have shared as a life coach and a mom and a wife on how to better respect boundaries. Whether you're being the pusher or the eraser, how to better respect boundaries so that you can have stronger, healthier, happier relationships. And while I'm not going to change my job from being a web designer to relationship coach, I do know how important relationships are. As a business owner, it doesn't matter if you were a web designer, an interior designer, or a fabulous coffee bean roaster. You have to have good, healthy relationships in order for your business to be successful. If you don't have good, healthy relationships, you might see some success, but it will probably be short-lived and you may not even see it or recognize it because you're too stressed out by unhealthy relationships. The fact is, you can't enjoy that success even if it comes when you don't have healthy relationships. So let's play the game, boundary pusher or eraser. Which one is the star of the show? Now, the first scenario that I want to talk about is the quick favor request. And here it is. Let's say that you get a text from a friend to take a quick look, quote unquote, at their website. So you click the link and dive in. The website is honestly a bit of a mess, but you want to be a good friend, so you carve out a little more time than the quick look that they asked for, so that you can offer good feedback. And then once you offer that feedback, the questions start rolling in. Instead of focusing on your own work, you are answering a string of text messages and maybe even hopping on a phone call or video chat to help your friend out. So who was the star of this show? Okay. Ding, ding, ding. You were correct if you guessed boundary eraser. It is your boundaries that you have just erased by wiping out your own to-do list items for the day to dive in and spend hours on this quick favor. Yes, of course, we all want to be a good friend, but being a good friend goes both ways, and being a good friend should never come at the expense of your own needs and your own personal to-do list, especially if you yourself are running a business or whatever your day looks like. It's important, it's valuable, and you shouldn't sacrifice your own needs just to be a good friend. So what could you do instead? Well, you could take that quick look, and when you realize that this is not a quick look, quick favor situation, respond and let your friend know that this isn't quick. Here's what I personally would say in this instance. Hey, I am so excited to dive into your new website. I noticed some big formatting errors at a quick glance that makes it kind of hard to read or navigate, etc. Happy to take another quick look when you get a chance to fix those. That lets them know that you were the friend, you took the quick look, you did the favor for them, and that you found some issues, and gives them an opportunity to go look for themselves and do some tweaking. Now, of course, the big formatting issues, maybe that's not the issue. Maybe it's a clarity issue or something else. It really doesn't matter what the issue is. Just share the issue. Be the good friend that is open and honest. Share the issue with kindness and then get back to your own day. Okay, now, if you really want to go in and do that deeper dive for your friend And I know some of you out there, that's exactly what you're going to do, because doing a quick message that says, excited for the website, it's a bit of a mess. You might want to go fix it. It's just not who you are. It's not in your comfort zone, and it's not the person that you want to be. I respect that 100%. So here's what I recommend instead. If you know that you need to do a deeper dive on their website to truly give them the feedback that is going to support them and help them, then schedule it on your calendar when you have time to do it. Don't just agree that you're going to take a look at their website. Make it a to-do list item and actually put it on your calendar. And here's why I recommend that. Because agreeing without ensuring that you have the actual time and mental capacity to do that deep dive is going to lead to your own personal burnout and potentially even resentment for your friend. You don't deserve that. Your friend does not deserve that. And the unsuspecting people living in your home don't deserve the aftermath of that. So schedule it. Let them know. Respond right away and say, hey, I saw a few issues. Let me take a deeper dive Sunday afternoon, and I'll get back to you if that works. Let them know I'm here. I've got your back, and I am going to give you some really good, solid feedback. Your friend is going to appreciate that, and they're going to respect and be grateful that you're willing to do that deeper dive that's going to support and help them. All right, so let's move on to the next scenario. That is the rescheduler. Let's say that you have got lunch planned with a friend and you cannot wait to catch up. Life has been so busy, and it's been a long time since you were able to sit down with this friend and have a real conversation. The day comes to connect, and things have gotten really crazy busy at work. So you shoot off a quick text to reschedule. The rescheduled date arrives, and you remember that you promised to run an errand for your mom. So you reschedule again, and then you reschedule again. Guess what, my friend? You are the boundary pusher in this scenario. We all have busy lives with commitments we promise to other people. We also all have a way of keeping track of all of that. Our phones. In your pocket right now, or sitting very close to you, I guarantee is a little tiny device that will alert you to what you have going on and remind you when it's about to happen. It will tell you your entire schedule for the day, the week, the month, the year ahead if you plan out that far. So if you are constantly overextending yourself and committing to things that you don't have the time for, it is your fault. And I am not trying to be mean or ugly or rude, because we've all been this person at some point in time, but that is the reality. It is our fault when we overextend ourselves. And when we do that, we are most likely erasing our boundaries for someone else who is pushing on us. And it just becomes an ugly cycle, my friends. The trouble with this particular scenario is that by you erasing your boundaries to accommodate other people, your friend and you are paying the price for that. And you've become the boundary pusher while also being an eraser. Again, this is an easy fix. Schedule your stuff out, schedule your time, and don't make a commitment unless you have the actual time and capacity to take that commitment on. And a quick little side note before we move on to the next one. My apologies if you hear me sniffling in this recording. I am going to do my best to edit that out. But in the Midwest, we are literally in a dust bowl right now. And my friends, I am allergic to dust. So my allergies have once again kicked my butt and are doing their best to take me down. But I'm going to power through, and I'm going to get through today's episode, because this is a topic that I am actually very passionate about, in case you haven't guessed that. So moving on. Scenario number 3. I forgot my wallet. You're out getting coffee with a friend only to discover that they have forgotten their wallet again. This happens a lot, and you're starting to feel resentment, but you pay for the coffee anyway because they're a friend. No surprise, but you are the boundary eraser in the scenario, and you're making their rude behavior acceptable, so that when the day comes when you actually show your frustration that they forgot their wallet once again, they're probably going to be incredibly surprised and not know why you're getting so angry for what they think of as no big deal. I know that you have a good reason to be angry, especially when someone takes advantage and is expecting you to always pay the bill. But if you don't make those boundaries clear or don't let them struggle by forgetting their wallet, how are they going to know that it's a problem? So, what do you do when you have the friend who always forgets their wallet? Do you cancel that friendship? Well, you absolutely can. And if they disrespect all of your boundaries and are all about themselves, then maybe you want to start loving them at a distance at the very least. But my guess is that they probably have a lot of other really great traits and that you rely on. They are a good friend outside of the fact that they rarely pay for their coffee. So here is what I would do. And first, I admit, I'm going to be honest with you. I often will just pay for the coffee. I actually had a friend who used to do this to me a lot, and I always paid for the coffee. But here's the difference. I paid for that coffee without resentment in my heart, without frustration, and without irritation. Instead of looking at the situation as an insult to somebody who doesn't respect my money and is taking advantage of me, I looked at it as a way that I could pour a little love on this friend who honestly needed it. I also have a very strict personal rule for myself that I do not loan anything, especially in terms of money, unless I'm willing to count it as a gift. So these coffees to my friend who always forgot her wallet, they were my gift to my friend. And I didn't mind doing it because I made the choice not to mind. Now, on the flip side of that, I also had another acquaintance. We would do some work and projects together who was famous for forgetting their wallet. And honestly, I wasn't willing to pay for their coffee or lunch or whatever it was we were meeting up for in that particular instance. So here's what I did with that particular person. When we would get to the coffee shop and they would inevitably say, "Oh no, I forgot my wallet again," I would say, "Oh no, that stinks. I think they have a free water station over there." And then I would order my coffee and pay my bill. I'll be honest, the person was so shocked that their little manipulation to get a free coffee didn't work, because it typically did work with other people, that they said nothing at all, and we were able to quickly move on with our meeting. They also started remembering their wallet when we had these kind of meetings, and even actually started offering or suggesting that we meet up for just a meeting without food or drink involved, because for whatever reason, it just wasn't in their budget. So in this particular situation, my advice is don't be resentful. Just choose what feels good to you. There is no right or wrong. You don't have to buy their coffee, and you can if you want to. You have to decide what feels right for you. All right. Scenario number 4, the emotional dump. Let's say that things have not been going really well lately. There's been a lot of extra stressors at work, stressors with vendors or contractors. Maybe a client is creating additional stress that you didn't anticipate, or there's stuff going on at home and you're just over life at the moment, and the stress is really starting to impact all areas of your life. But you know that you can get relief when you pick up the phone and call that one friend who always answers. So you plan on making just a quick phone call to vent, but the second they answer, you start pouring out all of your woes and worries and everything else on your mind. You cry, you rage, and you do all the things for 20 plus minutes, maybe even an hour, without even a hello. And then you finally do feel better. You thank your friend, you hang up, and hopefully you're feeling a little bit grateful that you have a friend who took it all in. In this instance, I am sorry to say, you are the boundary pusher. We all need to unload once in a while. We all need to vent, but we also need to respect those that act as our sounding board, and we need to give them the chance to unload as well. Plus, your emotional stress is a very real weight that they are now carrying on their shoulders, a weight that doesn't go away when you feel better and hang up the phone. So there are a couple things that I particularly would suggest in this scenario. First of all, I would say pick up a journaling practice. I journal 3 pages at least every single morning. Now, this journaling is often boring and just me talking out the plans for my day. But when I do have little irritations that are starting to build up in my mind, my brain, my body, whatever, they come out in my morning pages, and I am able to get them out and release them before they become real stressors. Now, I know a lot of people hesitate with having a journaling practice. They're like, oh no, I don't want my kids to read that. I don't want to have that around. I don't want people to find that later. Here's the thing. You don't have to keep your journals, okay? You actually can throw them away. I know we were raised with this idea that once you start a journal, you have to keep it. But that stops us from actually using the journal and getting the benefit of it. I don't keep my journals. There's a few of them that I use particularly for really happy, beautiful moments, but I don't put anything but that in those journals. Those journals I will keep. And actually, I think there's 2 of them. Any other journal that I've ever had since I was a teenager is in the trash or the burn hole or wherever the case is. I get rid of them. You can do that too. So picking up this journaling practice, doing 3 pages a day, this is a huge thing, especially when you're willing to let that journal go and release it when it's filled. This is going to get those minimal stressors out before they become a big deal. Now, the other point that I want to share on this particular one is if you really need to vent, if you really need to just dump this out on somebody, don't do it without warning. Okay. My best friend, Crystal, and I, we actually use audio text messages for this. We use audio text for everything. We both lead pretty busy lives, and Crystal's not a phone talker. So anytime that we need to check in, good, bad, or otherwise, we send each other an audio text message. But here's the thing. When I am sending her one that is going to be a negative one, where I'm going to be bitching or complaining about something in my life, I don't just dump it on her and let her take on that weight. Instead, at the very beginning of my audio text, I will start off saying something like, okay, I just need to vent. Feel free to stop listening at any time because I don't want to dump all this on you. I just need to talk it out and get it off my shoulders. So at that very moment, when she first hears it, she knows that I'm going to go into a rant. She is able to prepare herself, and she's able to make the decision whether she wants to continue on and take that on and hear me, or just bless that audio message and release it because she knows she doesn't need to hear it. She has a choice. Now, she will send me very similar messages herself when she needs to vent. And that is the beauty of this practice that we have between each other's. Now, I will say this. I'm pretty sure that she always listens to my ranting messages. I always listen to hers. If she doesn't, that's fine. She always listens to enough to respond and give me the encouragement and support that I need. But what is most important is that is a safe place for me to vent without piling my shit on top of her shoulders. And that's exactly what I want it to be. So that is another thing that I would do. The biggest thing that I would say, and even if it's a phone call the person and tell them up front, I really need to vent. Do you have time to listen? And give them an opportunity to say yes before they take on your emotional baggage. When they say yes, they are preparing themselves and they're able to put up their own boundaries so that they don't absorb all of your emotional energy and can be a better friend by simply observing it and giving you the support that you need. All right. This brings us to the last scenario of our little game show, which I don't think I've done the game show very well, but you've gotten the gist. It's all good. All right. This last one is the it's fine moments. You can probably guess what I mean by this scenario. Someone shows up late, cancels plans at the last minute, emotionally dumps their problems on your lap, or just doesn't do what they promised, and you respond with, it's fine. Yes, my friends, that is the boundary eraser at his or her finest. No matter what comes their way, it's fine. And yet, it really isn't fine. There's nothing wrong with you saying how you feel. You don't have to be rude about it. You can simply state the fact. When it's not fine, you can say it's not fine, and you can explain why. This actually used to be a pretty big issue with my husband and I. Now, you're probably not surprised. I'm a very vocal person. I probably share more than I should. But my husband, he really doesn't like conflict. And anytime that I would do something to upset him, and I'll admit it was usually unintentional, but there was times when I knew I was pushing a boundary and that I could probably get away with it because we're all pushers at some point. But anytime that I would push a boundary, unintentionally or not, and then pick up on his irritation after the fact, he would say, "It's fine." I knew it wasn't fine. And that response was starting to create some real issues in our relationship and our marriage. We had to actively practice not saying the words, "It's fine." And I understand that that can be really uncomfortable because, especially if you want to avoid conflicts, saying it's not fine and here's why is something a lot of us want to avoid. Not only is it because it's uncomfortable and we don't want to have conflicts, but sometimes for my husband, he didn't really know why it wasn't fine. He just knew he was irritable and he didn't want to start a fight. Or there was times when he would do something totally normal and acceptable, and I was in a bitchy mood and would just respond with, "It's fine," because I didn't want to pour my bitchiness onto him. That wasn't helpful at all for either one of us, because walking away from that "it's fine" moment when we knew things weren't fine, our brains started telling all kinds of stories that really weren't true. We would invent issues that didn't exist. We would tell a story that the other one was being unreasonable when that wasn't the case. It spun out of control really, really fast. And again, it really hurt our relationship. So we actually adopted a new phrase, and it was, "I don't want to talk about it right now." By saying, "I don't want to talk about it right now," we were making it clear that things weren't fine and that we were going to table the conversation, step away from it, and allow ourselves to process things a little bit. When Todd would tell me, "I don't want to talk about it right now," I didn't take it personally. I didn't start creating all these ideas in my brain. I didn't start telling stories that weren't true. I just knew he wasn't in a place to communicate at the moment. So I respected that and I gave him his space. And he would do the same for me. And here's what would happen after we tabled the conversation and gave each other space. First, we would either realize clearly what was bothering us so that we could have a good conversation about it, or we would realize we were just being irritable and that we didn't need to get mad and complain about whatever it was we took offense to, and we could let the situation slide. And later on, we'd normally come back and say, "You know what? I'm sorry. I was just being irritable. My apologies." And then we could move on knowing that there wasn't a deeper underlying issue that wasn't being said. The key thing that I want you to take away from this particular scenario is don't ever utter the words, "It's fine," or "I'm fine," or any other iteration of this if it's not true. Your feelings are important. And when things are not fine, you get to process and figure out why they're not fine and then address them as is appropriate. All right. So, my friends, what score did you get? I have no doubt that you got 500 points or 5,000 points. I don't remember what we assigned to each question, but I have no doubt that you aced this quiz. And now you know which side of the coin you are on in most situations. Or, like me, you realize that you have fulfilled both of those roles at some point in your life. The truth is, we all are pushers at some times, and we all are boundary erasers at others. Some of us lean more towards being the boundary pusher, and some of us lean more towards being the boundary eraser. And some of us, it just depends on the season of life that we're in. But neither one of these can lead to healthy relationships or healthy, successful lives. So, my friends, if you are finding yourself in these types of situations right now, my advice to you is to pause, to take a deep breath, maybe 2, maybe 10, and take a look at how you are reacting. Are you respecting everybody's boundaries? Are you respecting your own boundaries, especially? If we take that pause, if we take a moment to consider boundaries, everything's going to be a lot smoother and a lot easier. And honestly, you're going to enjoy your life a whole heck of a lot more. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you once again for tuning in. I always love this time here with you, and I hope that you will join me again very soon for another episode of The Solo Grind. Thanks for tuning in to The Solo Grind. If you found this episode to be helpful, inspirational, or just plain interesting, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. The more you engage with my podcast, the more others like you can find it and hear the conversations for themselves. And thanks again for tuning in to this week's conversation. I love spending this time with you. And if you'd like to continue that conversation off the podcast app you're listening to, please head on over to my website at caffeinecreative.io, where you can book a 20-minute chat with me or email me directly at theperfectblend@caffeinecreative.io. I would love to hear from you.